Hey, what's going on, good people? It's your boy James Harris, founder of a movement called Men to Heal, which focuses on men's overall wellness, our mental health, physical health, and of course, our emotional health. I definitely appreciate you for checking me out. And I'm also the author of a book called Man Just Express Yourself, which is an interactive planner guide for boys and men to continue to better educate themselves, research and tools and things like that. So I definitely appreciate all my fellow clinicians, therapists who got this in their lobbies doing these exercises and interventions within sessions. I definitely appreciate you. Salute to all the parents out there who got this book for their teenage sons. You can see how much he's grown. I definitely appreciate reading your feedback and getting pictures and, different scripts that you guys are sending. And also salute to those spouses, those wives out there who got this tool and book for their partner and who's been doing exercises over dinner and date night. I definitely like that feedback as well. So if you want a copy of the book, definitely go to Barnes & Nobles, Amazon, Target, Walmart, pretty much anywhere books are sold. And of course, my website, mentoheal.com, www.mentoheal.com. I definitely appreciate you. So if you're new here, please like, share, subscribe. Thank you for checking me out. I definitely appreciate it. I don't take my platform for granted. We are monetized now. Thank you for everybody who's been sharing content within groups or individually or just organizations, period. I definitely appreciate you. So more information will continue to come, not only from me as an individual, but I'll be having a collective of different people coming to share their experience, their thoughts, their progress, their knowledge with you. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. And the guest that I got coming up now is
I'm ADHD John on the realm of social media. I'm a mental health advocate. I've been doing this for about, I want to say 2.5 years. Also, I'm a engineering by trade, so advocacy and then doing engineering has just been something I've been passionate about. I was diagnosed around the age of 21. And ever since then, it took me up until about the age of 30 to actually want to do something about it, to understand my mind. And ADHD, I ended up finding out that it's way more than just the stereotype of I can't focus. And I took the initiative, especially as a Black man, to figure out exactly what it is and then also try to debunk that stigma as well, to educate people. I'm a part of a men's ADHD mental health support group. We are currently about, I want to say 6,000 members deep right now. We're located on Facebook and on Instagram as well, too. And also I work in the local community as well, too, with Black men and overcoming mental health hurdles.
my guy. Welcome, boss. Definitely appreciate you for coming and check me out. And for the people out there who don't know what ADHD is, it's pretty much attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, which is a chronic condition that affects not only children, but of course adults too. Millions of people have ADHD or have some symptoms of ADHD. They probably don't know what it is, but ADHD definitely includes a combination of persistent problems, whether that's difficulty sustaining attention, hyperactivity or impulsivity behaviors. So some of those things you definitely probably recognize within your child or in your childhood. So John, talk to me about it, man. Who diagnosed you?
So I got diagnosed by a therapist and did a 3-hour neuropsych evaluation with that back when I was 21. So I was right after college, and I ended up I remember I went to a therapy session to pretty much get treated for anxiety. And then they were asking me questions about, what's your concentration and your focus and things being like, what were they like? And they're like, you know what, we want to take you in and just kind of make you, do a couple of little evaluations. And that's when they found it out, you're ADHD more on the inattentive type versus the combined type that you have. And then the stereotypical impulsive one that's there as well, too.
Okay. So, and the reason why I asked that is because within our demographic, our community, boys are oftentimes misdiagnosed or overdiagnosed with ADHD, and it could be a symptom of trauma. It could be a symptom of depression. adjustment disorders, just so many other different things. But of course, ADHD is that go-to one. And like you just alluded to, ADHD can be broken down within three different subtypes. The predominantly inattentive is like the majority of symptoms fall within like when somebody is inattentive. And then of course you got the hyperactivity and impulsivity, which is like somebody displaying those hyperactivities in the classroom or at work, just being overstimulated. And then of course you got the combined type, which is both those things. So when one is inattentive, they might fail to pay close attention to minor details, is careless with their schoolwork or their work within the job setting, have trouble staying focused on tasks, not as organized as they can be, or they dislike doing different tasks such as homework or anything really that they got to put effort into. Did you see those things within yourself?
Oh, definitely. I mean, everything that you said, it spoke volumes. Definitely when it came to school, I was terrible at test taking. In school, it was hard for me to focus. I wouldn't process things as quick as what everybody else did. Like the teacher says, I'm going to give you 30 minutes to go ahead and study this, read and retain, and then I'm going to quiz you on it later. That 30 minutes wasn't long enough because I couldn't just sit there and just stare at it, because I would find myself scrolling across the page and then rereading it all over again, or, just losing focus in class.
Easily distracted. So easily distracted. Like forgetting certain information, although they just did it, So yeah, those things definitely fall into that inattentive portion. But just for clarity, because it might be a parent or an adult out there listening, I want to touch on the hyperactivity side too. Although you said that part didn't affect you as much, but when we talk about hyperactivity within ADHD, that's when you're visiting, with different gadgets, or you tapping your pencil, you tapping your feet. Some kids in school might squirm in their seat, just looking around the classroom, have difficulty staying seated, getting up all the time, stretching, just going back and forth between peers, whether that's in the school or in the office. And a lot of people feel when they got the hyperactivity or the impulsivity portion that they have to be on the go. They got to be moving around, so whether that's climbing on something, or either talking too much. I know a lot of people get diagnosed on that based on that being a part of the impulsivity, blurting out different answers or interrupting the class or at your job or whatever the case is. And again, a lot of young males have difficulty waiting their turn, because they happen to know information, so they want to get it out there. Yeah. So of course, again, like I said earlier, it's one of the most overly used diagnoses and misdiagnosed probably symptoms within the criteria, basically. So I'm glad I was able to have you on to highlight that. So again, with your journey, what made you realize like, oh man, let me view and see if it's not just me not being able to concentrate, or am I the only person that have to read the chapter again, or whatever the case is?
Yeah, it came back from just having, those memories of like just bad moments in school, bad moments at work where you felt like your productivity was going down. I had to take a lot of courses over again. Like I went for mechanical engineering. There were some courses I took 2 or 3 times just because of retaining the information, not knowing my learning style. And it was back in 2019 where, just amongst a lot of family problems, a lot of depression, I really wanted to understand what it was my mentor was really telling me, like what's there. And just diving back into my old diagnosis of ADHD, the fact that I had taken myself off of Adderall because it was too high. I had the heart palpitations, constantly sweating, things like that. And I remember being diagnosed at 21. After I took that medicine for about a couple of months, I took myself off. So from 21 up until 30, it was cold turkey. And it became more difficult to focus. So I really wanted to just get a better grasp for it and be more well in tune with my mind versus allowing people to define me.
Allowing people to define me. That's a interesting perspective with what you just laid on. So what a lot of parents don't know, or a lot of teachers and administrators don't know, that some things can coexist within ADHD. So, and that's part of the reason why it's probably overdiagnosed or misdiagnosed too. Of course, we got these things within the psychological development where problems can coexist. But one of the things that ADHD can coexist with is opposition to defiance disorder, which is like a pattern of negative or defiant hostile behaviors within the classroom setting or the community setting or the home setting. Did you experience any of those things as well, or was yours just strictly ADHD?
No, I definitely know mine was due to trauma, in which I had a lot of traumatic experiences in my youth, and then even as an adult as well too. So you'll have the ruminating thoughts, the negative self talk, just like you touched upon. ADHD, it's a comorbidity. It's a gift that keeps giving. It ties into a lot of things like that. So I have some OCD elements that are there too, where I have to do certain things in a certain order. Um, a lot of the times too, I have one of my best friends is bipolar 2, but he was diagnosed as bipolar 2. But at first, he was initially diagnosed as ADHD. And then we kind of both figured out by doing our research that it's comorbid. It dives into so many different areas. Going back to trauma again, too, over explanation. Seasonal depression felt like depression every single day. Things like that. And it gets to a point where like your memory gets really, really foggy. You're uncomfortable with your thoughts. You have rejection sensitivity dysphoria as well too, and emotional dysregulation. And when the emotional dysregulation hits, which was big for me, your emotions are here 1 second and then they're way down here, and it just keeps going. And it's like you feel times 1,000, but you can't put any type of you know meaning to it or a reason behind it, and you just wander around lost.
Yeah, yeah. So, like you alluded to, those things that can coexist with ADHD, substance use disorder. A lot of people feel that they gotta, use drugs or be intoxicated. And anxiety disorder. That's a big one. So it sounds like you probably had a hint of anxiety disorder because you probably was overwhelmed or just nervous, within different stuff like that excessive worry, which led to, like you included, the OCD tendencies,
Mhm.
thinking things are not correct or thinking things need to be within a specific order. So those things definitely can coexist with it. But a lot of people overlook the mood disorder part. Like your friend probably was late diagnosed, like you said, with bipolar, which is a mood disorder, because he probably experienced the depression, the bipolar symptoms, which included, like you said, that long set of depression. It seemed like it wasn't going away. So, or sometimes he'll probably ease a little manic behavior in there. So that's probably why they went on ahead and switched it to bipolar. But yeah, some people do have that, coexistent behaviors or those features with it. So, what else you got going on? How is the group?
The group is amazing. What we do is we meet every other Sunday and we just pick random topics that either have to deal with ADHD or just any struggles as a man. And we talk about them. And our members are international now. We probably have a lot of people over in London. We have a lot of Australian representation, but then we have a lot of guys here in the United States. So we have that. Within the group, there are little workshops that can also be implemented as well too with some of the members. Some of the admins do that, and we have just a free flowing like Discord and forum where people can just talk, and they're constantly an influx of just information. And literally, for anybody who joins it, there's somebody that's just like you there. And that's just the whole welcoming feeling of the entire thing. And we do a podcast as well too. We haven't done as many within the past months because of just schedule conflicts, but we have quite a bit of episodes that are up there.
So let me ask you this: you was when you were diagnosed in the earlier years, in comparison to the later years of your confirmed diagnoses, did they give you any medication, whether it was Strattera or Wellbutrin or Adderall, those things like that. I know you did say you had Adderall, but you didn't like how how it made you feel. And with medication, I know a lot of people say things like that, like I don't like how I feel on medication. I don't like not being in control or whatever the case is. Like, how was your experience with medication? Did it increase your focus, but did it impair how you react? Like, what was your experience with medication?
I'm so glad you asked that question. Yes. So of course you have the focus factor. If you have Adderall is one of those things or those stimulants where basically if you have something to do, it's going to work fine. You can't take it and have nothing to do, and then you're just wandering all over the place. And You're fidgety. I felt as if like I was a little more moody as well too. The impulsivity was kind of, for me, it was heightened even more right then and there. And the eating, the suppressed eating is big time, where you can go the whole entire day on just like a snack right then and there. Body temperature, heart palpitations, things like that. That's why I got off of it for such a long time. And I recently just became medicated again with something known as Vyvanse. And I have a lower dosage because when I had Adderall XR, I was up to like 50 milligrams starting off. And to me, I felt like it was entirely too high, like way too high. So with Vyvanse, we're able to do it really, really slow. And then also when it wears down, it's not as bad at all. It's a smooth transition.
All right, so let me ask you this: what are some other remedies that the parents out there listening can, because they probably in the same boat, man. I know a lot of parents feel like, oh, the doctor prescribed it, I have to give it to my child, which is not the case. One, you can get a second opinion, or you can adjust the dosage, or you can just make those lifestyle changes because there's a lot of different things that increase the symptomology of ADHD, whether that is a lack of exercise, poor diet, increased caffeine. Those things can have an effect on, the ADHD symptoms and things. So, what are some other things that they can do for that biofeedback or just our body in general?
Well, I know meditation helps out big time. Moments of mindfulness. So I meditate before I go to bed every single night just to kind of clear my mind out when your mind is kind of racing, when you're trying to go to sleep. And the next thing you know, you're getting up in a rabbit hole of just doing all sorts of things like binge watching TV from 12 o'clock into 4 o'clock in the morning just because your mind is there. I don't have a lot of sugar in my diet whatsoever either. I drink lots of water. I stay away from sodas just because of that stimulant that's there. Other things you can do. I know for me, reading, the biggest thing is if your child is suffering with not being able to focus reading, time it. Spend 10 minutes reading something and then take a 1 minute break. Get up, walk around. I have to do that, or I have to have a fidget ball in my hand where basically I can fidget for about like 30 minutes, get up, take a 5 minute break and go walk and continue it over again. It's a lot of holistic adjustments that you can definitely do. Exercising, getting that. I love the gym. So that releases that dopamine right then and there. And it helps me out big time, especially, when I feel flustered or I feel like I can't sit still. So those are what have helped me tremendously. Just finding creative outlets, because with ADHD, you live in your right brain where that's where your creativity is versus the left side, which is more rational. So when you're able to cross that plane, you can be able to function amongst the norm, as people like to say, but it takes some time to adjust to.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So with the groups you have, how can people find the groups? I know you said it's on IG, it's on Facebook as well. So, like, what's the criteria for somebody to be able to join your ADHD group?
So the men's ADHD support group on Facebook, the criteria is you have to either be diagnosed or you feel as if you do have it and you want to learn more information on that. And then also you have to be open and communicating with other members about your experience and knowing that it is a safe space right then and there. You can be a healthcare professional or you can just be someone who just absolutely wants to learn. And it's been the most welcoming group I've ever seen. And then with that, you also have the Instagram page that goes along with that, the Twitter, men's ADHD support group, as well as the podcast.
So a question that I get asked many times by wives, sisters, aunts, mothers, it says men to heal, but can I as a woman benefit from this information? So your group, you said men's ADHD group. Does that mean you don't have women in there, or is it a space for women as well?
So it's primarily men, but what we do is a lot of our special guests or professionals that come in, they're unisex. So you can have males one day, you can have women that are there to provide information there as well too. And then we have other resources for women in which they can get connected with more women with ADHD, because that's also another stigma that's there, because stigma is that only males suffer with it. Women suffer just as bad as what we do as well too. So we try to make sure we put it all the way across the board of all types to welcome them right on in.
That's awesome. And I think that stigma is there too, because men or boys are oftentimes, again, overdiagnosed with it. And that small population of women, they have it, but they're often overlooked, or it's classified as something else because they're acting like a woman, So depending on where you are within the spectrum. But it's awesome what you guys doing over there within the group. And I'm glad that, anybody is able to join and consult and ask their questions and get feedback and information. That's awesome, man. So what else do you have personally going on that you want people to know about? I see you got a couple pair of shoes back there, man.
Yeah, so one thing that me and James have in common is definitely sneakers. I started in sneaker restoration as a coping mechanism, dealing with depression when I had ended up tearing my shoulder and having it repaired. And I literally painted one pair, and then ever since I started collecting. I'm a huge fan of Jordans, Nike Dunk, highs, mids. So what I wanted to do was just find a positive way to, not be in my mind where, I can be at war with my mind or do something that's positive. And in turn, I've been able to make a little money on the side from it while also collecting shoes that are collectibles and something I've wanted since I was a child. But I don't have as many as you just yet, but we coming up there.
Yeah. This is a portion of one of my walls. I got all three walls filled. The other wall has a window on it, so it's not no shoes on it. But I guess for you, you found that to be an outlet for you. You
Yep.
found that as a way for you to cope, as a way for you to navigate different things instead of being destructive or engaging in reckless behavior, which is a phenomenal thing. I'm proud of you, man. Definitely enjoy watching you engage, with the social media aspect because people do have questions, people do have concerns, and again, like ADHD is one of those things that's not going away because people is going to constantly feel so many different pressures from the world, like with not only the stigma attached to it, but imposter syndrome. Those things can have you just constantly thinking when you're supposed to be focused on another task. So I'm glad you was able to drop some insight and give information based on those things. So how can people find you? Where can they reach out to you at?
So I am on social media, primarily Instagram and Twitter. So on Instagram, the handle is ADHD underscore John John. That's J0N. Also, same name on Twitter as well too. Facebook, I'm there as John Hazelwood, or you can find me inside the men's ADHD men's support group. So I have it there, and then also the ADHD support group podcast.
Definitely, that's awesome, man. I'm glad people will be able to reach out to you. So what I'm gonna do is in the description below, I'm definitely gonna plug your information, as well as all the groups that people can attend, or if they got questions directly that they need to give to you, I'll relay those. But if you're just tuning in to my YouTube channel, it's so many different videos and so many different topics and areas. So now, every now and again, I bring in a guest to give you information outside of me and my experiences. And who else better to go to than the guru himself. Not only is he educated with ADHD, but he himself has been diagnosed with ADHD. So make sure you like, share, subscribe, and continue to follow and submit your questions on any topics that you want me to cover or people that you want me to reach out to, because it's about education, it's about uplifting, it's about providing information that people oftentimes don't have. So I just want to continue to be a vessel to do that. John, take us home, man. Anything else you want the people to know about ADHD?
ADHD, everyone, I need you to understand that it's not the end of the world. It is not something that defines you whatsoever. You can literally use it as a superpower. All it is just your mind was just created to see the world a little different. And who doesn't see the world different each and every single day? And just because your mind may have that label, it doesn't mean that everything about you in your life has to represent that whatsoever. You are who you are. You're beautiful exactly as you are. And you were never a mistake when you were in creation. So keep fighting the good fight. Keep just staying as positive as you possibly can be, and just know that you're not alone and the resources are there.
So when you say resources are there outside of your resources, your groups, your social media, what else can parents do to assist our young ones? What else can that adult do that just realized that he himself or herself does have ADHD? So what resources or where can they find resources outside of you?
Definitely. So you have the CHAD program, which is the Children and Adults with ADHD, which is completely national now. So you have that organization as well too. Definitely refer to a lot of your school counselors as well. They will give you the information that you would need about understanding what ADHD is. Social media, free tool. Everybody has it. YouTube, everyone has it. I have a friend named Renee who does Black Girl Lost Keys, and she is phenomenal. Writes tons of subjects, writes tons of articles about ADHD struggles, not only in men but also women. Dr. Dawn also does a lot of research with ADHD and has a lot of books corresponding with that. So it's there, and it's the power of social media and the power of the internet, and use it. That's what it's there for.
No, definitely, those are some good resources. And Dr. Dawn is actually awesome. We collaborated on a couple different things. She's a supporter of mine. I'm a supporter of hers. So again, man, definitely appreciate you coming out. I'm sure parents and people have tons of information that they just received from you. And I'll be sure to plug your information. Definitely appreciate you. Keep up the good work. I'm going to, continue to see you around, whether it's on social media or in person. You're not that far. So we're going to figure it out, man. I definitely appreciate you for stopping by.
Likewise, sir. I appreciate that.